Hi there, welcome to A Conversation. My name is Bright Clifford. My hope is simple: to spark conversations that reshape mindsets, inspire actions, and contribute to positive change, one person, one community, one generation at a time. If you believe meaningful change begins with meaningful conversations, then you are in the right place. What I invite you to do is to like this post. This will help us to reach as many people as possible. I want you to join the conversation. Your perspective is very important and it may be what somebody needs. By joining the conversation in the comment section, and also to subscribe. By doing that, you are partnering with us on this vision to reach out to as many people with the conversations that will shape a generation, that will shape a future to come. Welcome to A Conversation. Glad to have you here.
And so the introduction is going to begin with my first question, which I'm going to direct to Dr. Jerry. So while preparing for this meeting today and the entire running around that it's involved, I found myself at a point asking, who sent me here? Now this, we're supposed to take advantage of the public holiday and all that. And then some people would just choose to rather remain at home and relax than be here. Meanwhile, we're dealing, or what we're talking about, are national issues. What we're looking at are things that concern us as individuals. And I honestly was at a point where I was asking myself, who sent you here? And honestly, that is a question that is on my heart. Should I just relax like every other person? Should I just decide to face front and just live my life?
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, depending on where you are watching from or listening from. I'm happy to be here, and I'm glad that we have an opportunity to have some of these conversations and discussions. I think at the heart of the question you're asking is, why aren't people so involved or interested in a forum or fora that should spark conversations on the national climate and the change that we all desire? Why aren't people turning up and lending their voices to some of these conversations? Well, there are basically three categories of people that exist in this nation, that should exist in every nation, but I think that fundamentally in this nation there are three categories of people. The first category are people that are very optimistic that Nigeria will work. There are those already saying that Nigeria is working or Nigeria has been fixed. Those that believe that Nigeria will work. That's the first group. There's a second group of people that are having some form of apathy. Whether Nigeria works or not, we don't care. As long as what we require, what we need for livelihood is available, we are fine. And so whatever conversations we're having, they might not be interested in because things are working for them, or might not be working for them. They have a backup plan. So there's group A, the people that are optimistic, group B, people that are apathetic, and then we have the group C, or the third group of people that are totally in despair, that they've totally given up on this country. Like, it's not going to work. Whatever conversations people are having, they're just speaking into thin air because people have spoken. Over the years, people have been speaking. Protests have gone on, the revolts have gone on, revolutions have sprung forth of some sort, and nothing has happened. And so, unfortunately, we have the latter groups as the predominant population, those that are in despair and those that are apathetic, much more than people that are optimistic. You happen to be part of the people that are optimistic, and that's why a forum like this matters to you. But the bulk of the populace do not have a lot celebrate. A lot of the populace don't have a lot they are looking forward to. They are just barely, surviving. And so that's one of the reasons why you might see that a couple of people are not so, you know, the energy is low. They're not so energetic and energized in having conversations like this anymore, because they are really looking forward to something that will really be out of sorts for them to say that something's happening. So basically, what I'm saying is this: that if you are discouraged because people are not responding in the way and manner that you want them to, it's basically because of one of these three options. One, you're an optimistic person, but you're dealing with people that are in despair or in some form of apathy, and that's what this is about.
Is a Nigerian really a helpless person? To a very large extent, if you hear the complaints, it almost sounds like a victim is talking. Is a Nigerian truly a victim? Is he truly a helpless person that can't do anything about the state of things and is utterly helpless?
Okay. Firstly, let me say Happy Democracy Day to Nigeria and Nigerians. And this day is supposed to be for us a day to celebrate. But I'm sure a lot of people do not even know why they shouldn't go to work today. It used to make a lot of sense in the immediate aftermath of the long period of military rule that a day like this is celebrated, because we are back to democracy, we can make our voices heard, we can impute in the system our expectations and make demand on the system through structures and processes of democracy. But over the years, it hasn't yielded what most people expected, because after every dispensation of political leadership, things continue to turn around or move in the wrong direction. So I agree with you that there is a lot of despondency in the land. And normally, we will look at it that we can change things. And we should look at it that way. Because one of the greatest advantage of mankind is hope. Hope that things can change. And also that we can make that change possible. A lot of people have given up, yes. But if that change will happen, it will happen because a lot of people also did not give up. We might be few, there might be few people who have not given up, but that is the hope that this country has. Our democracy is maturing, but it's not progressing. By now, we should be able to believe that elections will throw up candidates that the people choose. We made progress, and the progress has been reversed, sort of. You could see that in the runoff to governorship election in 2023. It became obvious because of the system that was in place. It became obvious to every political office holder or aspirant that they must cut the people in order to get into office. So some governors left the office, step into the street, eat corn on the street, enter barbing saloon, barb their hair in the public place, do a lot of things just to mix up with the people and get them to like them a bit. But shortly after that, in the off-cycle election that have happened, a lot of people have now lost hope that election will throw out people that the people choose. And that is quite a challenge. But our discussion today is on the future of leadership and responsible citizenship. And if that leadership is going to give Nigeria what it needs, then those who have the right mindset for leadership must get involved, either to take leadership or to affect the process that brings leadership. And today we are discussing the role of the young people in all of this. Young people today are not even aware that they have a role to play. They see themselves as victim of processes, but they do not see that they are supposed to be part of the process. And who do you even call young people today? We look at you and I sitting here, we say we are young people. Compared to the years of our beginning in the early 60s, 70s, and 80s, we are past young people. Those were the years where we were led by men in their 30s, early 30s, mid 30s. And they didn't lead as small boys. They led as men, head of state, they led as federal commissioners, they led as federal lawmakers, deciding the next destiny of this nation. But today we have youth wing of political parties is 70 years old, 60 years old, because the population that should be determining the future is sidelined. But we won't give up on this nation because we can't go and be begging for citizenship somewhere else. We must do what we can to rescue this nation. And that is why we are on this podcast. That is why we are not in our home watching the World Cup. We are discussing the future of leadership and responsible citizenship so that we all should know that we have a role to play. The politician in Nigeria is the most pampered all over the world, the most at ease. They can be celebrated for just occupying the office, not for doing anything. And that is a tragedy because it means that by the way they have governed and by the laws they have made and processes they have supported, they have eroded expectation. So you can do nothing and still be celebrated, whereas you're supposed to be celebrated for what you have done. But how many of them are out there trying to work so that they can be celebrated? That is what we are looking at. We must be able to raise the consciousness of the citizens to expect and to demand that those who occupy offices and hold public resources in trust must use it for the public.
Is there something culturally wrong that makes people, Nigerians, Africans, not early risers?
So there's nothing like it's not. You see where we are as a nation now. I'm smiling because it's a function of social conditioning. And why do I say it's a function of social conditioning? Think about, let's say, Rotimi Amechi, right? Rotimi Amechi was about 30-something when he was governor. He was Speaker of House, and then was governor. Then Speaker of the State House of Assembly, and then governor. When Nigeria's democracy today, from uninterrupted democracy, is 27 years today. The people that have been in power then are the people in power now. Now subtract 27 years from their ages, current ages. You'll actually realize that they were in their 30s when they were governors and speakers and House of Reps members. But just that they've held onto the reins and they refuse to let it go. So 27 years later, they're still in power. That makes sense. Why? Because that Lord Acton used to say, Lord Acton says, power corrupts, absolute power corrupts, absolutely. Nobody enjoys power and just willingly wants to let it go. So you see, it's a function of social conditioning, where they tell people, wait for your time. But as long as I'm alive, it's not your time. And so, while they were our ages and younger than us, they were governors. This was just as recently as 20-something years ago. They were in their 30s and in their early 40s. They were governors, they were speakers, they were House of Reps, and then senators and stuff. And they were ministerial appointees. How old was El-Rufai when he was the Minister of Federal Capital Territory? Remove 16 years, or almost 20 years from his life now, from his current age. You will see how young he was when he was the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory. Which of the ministers currently, and we must give it that even in this regime, the president has tried to bring in, one or two young people to be ministers, like the minister of, what do you call it? The guy that was in charge of telecommunication, Bosun. A couple of the guys that were young guys that came in. But the average minister in other ministries and regimes are in their 60s, 50s, late 50s, 60s. So it's a function of social conditioning. Now, it's not just something that is so peculiar to Nigeria. It is wrong, absolutely wrong, but it's an African thing. I often pose a challenge and I say, how many African leaders do you know that actually bequeathed power or left office without recontesting, except maybe Madiba, Nelson Mandela? Almost every other African leader had to be ousted out of power or had to contest for an election and he lost. You will see that continuum. If you come to the Nigerian context, you cannot find any leader that didn't recontest or stayed in power till it was muzzled off him, or except the person has lasted his tenure, finished his tenure. When you look at the history of Nigeria from 1960, everybody that came was either through a coup. I mean, nobody actually handed over power. You can't think of anybody. Abacha wanted to reign forever. I mean, the circumstances that brought in the next power, and then we went into the elections. Obasanjo did two tenors, wanted to add a third tenor that was kicked out, and then Yaradua came. He died in power. Good luck came, did the first, completed that of Yaradua, ran his tenor, wanted to go for another tenor again, and then he was ousted out. Buhari came, ran two tenors. Tinubu came, run two tenors. You see, it's an African thing. Nobody wants to relinquish and just say, you know what, I think I should rest and hand over power. So it's a function of social conditioning. It's not something that is socio-culturally wrong. It's just that we've been socially conditioned to think that it's not our time yet. But young people can actually rise and be engaged. The only unfortunate thing, let me just add this, is because most of the young people have not been able to amass the wealth, the political wealth, the money, the funds that some of these politicians have embezzled and kept in their pockets, which gives them so much. I mean, the people are hungry. If you flash a bit of money in their faces, they will turn and pay obeisance to you and they lay their loyalties to you. So most of the young people do not have the raw cash, the materials to throw monies at the faces of people to win elections. And so that adds again to the issue of the despair and despondency that I and Basil are talking about. But it's just a function of social conditioning. That's where we are.